Hey, welcome to Dave's Train Room. Today we're going to discuss moving a layout. Uh, None of us really want to do it. None of us plan for it. But inevitably it's one of those things that happen, and they happen pretty much to everyone. I haven't had a person that it hasn't moved to that I've known. And if it hasn't moved to you, your time will come. Uh, My problem is Thanksgiving is coming, and I got to keep some guests in the train room, and unfortunately, there's not enough room to put a guest in with the layout. Uh, so my idea of it is I built this train room to be movable. I've done this over time because in the military, over 20 years in the military, I've had to move 9 times, and I had to move my trains, all my hobbies, everything had to go with me. So what the idea of it is, this video is going to show you how I move my train room out of the room. And since this is really my truly first movable one, because this is not only moved once, it's moved several times so far. And I'm learning every time. And this is going to document not only the moving of the layout, but stuff that I still need to do to make moving easy. Because let's face it, folks, if it's not easy, we're not going to do it. We're going to think of some way else to put the people in the room instead of doing what the room was designed for and to harbor a guest. So what I'm guessing I'm trying to tell you is the fact that make your room movable. Make it at the beginning movable. Part of this thing is I go through rules, and when I built my wood shop, I built certain rules before I actually put the shop together. And things like the garage is small. I needed my shop to be movable. We live in Florida. We have hurricanes. I needed to be able to bring a car in the garage. And you don't want to make it hard to do that, because things like hurricanes, they come fast. You got to be able to do it quickly. And if it's not easy, you're going to hate it. You're going to end up abandoning something you really enjoy to do. I love trains. I don't want to abandon it. So here's the deal. I built this layout to come apart very easily. I've had it apart before. It takes about 40 minutes. And believe it or not, this is a 10 by 10 layout that's fairly large. But I can get it apart really quickly. The thing that takes the longest for me is taking the stuff that won't stay on the layout. In other words, if you take your layout, a piece of your layout, and turn it sideways up on end, the stuff that falls off of it is the stuff that I'm talking about. So your trains, buildings that aren't secure, things like that. That takes the longest. You want to have as little of that as possible. I know it kind of makes your layout sound like, yeah, you're going to build it permanently. What if you want to move it? Well, you can still move stuff, but you can make it to where it's not going to fall off if you turn your layout sideways. That's one of the things. The other thing is the stuff in the room, and I'm talking the stuff like train storage, train furniture, things like cabinets that are harboring your trains, shelves in the wall that are harboring your trains, things like this, like your pictures, shelving like up here in the back that are holding my trains, stuff like that. If you're living in an apartment, you want to have as little of this as possible. Because one, it causes damage. You're not going to get your deposit back if they got to repair a room from all the holes you make hang and everything. Here, this is my home. It's permanent. I'm not going to move again, hopefully. So I have mounted stuff on the wall. But if you're renting, you don't want to do it. I rented a lot. We moved a lot. There are times where I only spent a year or less in a place because I was going through training, and that went in one place. It took a year, and then I had to go out to where I was going elsewhere. So make stuff to where you don't have to attach it to the wall. This layout, believe it or not, is not attached to the wall at all. It is freestanding. In other words, it stands on its own legs. There is nothing holding it to the wall, so I didn't have to make any holes to put it there. The curtains hide all the stuff underneath it. Things like my spare trains, and I spare trains, my excess trains, and we all know we don't have excess trains, but my trains that's not actually on the track hide under the layout on carts. What I mean by carts is when I empty the room, I don't have to pick up stuff and walk out with it and come back and forth 100 times going out and bringing it in and packing stuff in boxes. Everything is on these carts. And I take these carts and I roll them out and roll them into the garage. It's fast. It's easy. I can do it by myself. I don't need help. And that's the idea of it. You don't have to call your neighbor every time you have to move this thing. Make it lightweight, make it fast, make it durable. So these are some of the rules. I'm saying this because these are the rules you all have to make for your layouts. 2, we spend a lot of money in these layouts. I can't tell you because people don't need to hear how much I've spent on this layout, but let's say I have close to 5 figures in this layout. In electronics, in buildings, in materials, wire, stuff of that nature. I just have a lot of money in this, and I don't want to have to get rid of it, not even a piece of it. Not only that, I really love making everything on this layout. I don't want to part with it. I guess you could say I'm some sort of a mild-mannered train hoarder. So with that said, I need everything to be able to move out a layout. So what do? While I'm building a layout, stuff is inside bins. I have bins to do scenery. When I do scenery, all I do is I grab my scenery bin, take it out, take my scenery stuff. It's all organized very well. It doesn't take me long to get out to set up. To do scenery, I work for about an hour, and I move the couple of things that I took out back into the box, and I stow it back under the layout. And again, I don't just stow it under the layout, it goes on its cart. So when it comes time to move, I don't have a lot of stuff to pick up. It takes me about an hour and a half, because I'm very careful with my stuff. It takes me about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, to get everything off the top of the layout that will fall off if I turn my layout sideways. Then it only takes about 35-40 minutes to roll everything out. If you're, again, in an apartment and you're moving, there's a whole different set of rules that change. One, your stuff has to be able to be packed. When these people come in, they are fast. They are very fast because they get paid by the job. They're not paid by the hour. They come in and they don't waste time. One person's setting up boxes. They set them on the ground. Another person's picking up stuff. And if it's loose in the layout, they're going to grab it. It's going to go in a roll of paper. They're going to wrap it, and it's going to go into the box. When you see your stuff handled like that, it's very disheartening, especially when you know something is very, very fragile. Stuff like this has to be packed, and it has to be packed in a way that the movers can take it and put it in a truck. Now, that's another set of rules. The truck space you're paying for. You're paying for square inches in the truck. And keep in mind, when they pack stuff, these trucks are stacked. Your stuff is in the truck and not just loaded into the truck. It is loaded and stuff is stacked on top of it all the way to the top of the roof, because you're paying for every square inch. You want them to be able to pack it as tight as possible. So, can I take a layout like this and put it in there? No. Why? Because it's not stackable. They're going to lay this on the layout, and guess what? You're going to pay for every square inch above that space, even if you can't stack nothing on it. And it's going to get expensive. Moves can cost several $1,000s if you build your stuff like that. You got to build it stackable. And not only stackable, you got to build it to where you can't damage it, because if it is to their advantage to put this module standing up on end in the back of the truck, they're going to do it. So you need to keep that in mind when you move your layout. You need to build it stackable. You need to build it to where if they pick it up and put it on a roller and roll it down the driveway and hitting the dividers in the driveway, jolting it, that your layout is built sturdy enough to take this kind of shock. So why are my layouts very simple? Just for this reason. My layouts are simple. They're flat. There's not a lot of stuff that is not secured. Everything in here is glued, and not only glued, it's glued with wood glue. It's very sturdy. It takes a lot to dismantle it. So needless to say, that's why it's taken me so long to put it down, because when I put it down, it's there, it's down. It's permanent, because it's going to take a monumental effort to change it. And why do I do this? Days like today, because I got to move. So, with that said, I'll go in detail more about this in another video, or maybe even just a photo montage of what I've done in here. But today I just want to document the move so you guys can see what it's going to take. everybody's situation is different. There's going to be different rules for you. So, here we go. All right, Dave again. I've got most of the carts out already. The carts that held my trains, I had some O gauge on there, some narrow gauge on there, some HO on there, some N scale on there. I got a couple of G gauge items, and I don't really run G gauge, but I have a few items just to have a representation on display of the G gauge items. So, with that said, pretty much all the carts are under. My space under the layout is empty. Things like curtains. Don't make your curtains permanent. Don't staple them on. I've seen a lot of that. When you staple them on there, you want to be able to clean them. My room gets dusty. I do a lot of filing. I do a lot of sanding of plaster. I do a lot of ground foaming, and stuff gets on the curtains. I want to be able to take them off and put them in the washing machine, put them back up, so your room is always clean. And also when you move, the movers, they're not going to be very careful with things like this. If you put your curtains on there permanently, you're going to tear them up when you take them off. Make your curtains so where they can remove. My curtains here on Velcro. On the front of my layout is clean. I like it clean. I want to see the fascia because I mount things like these drink holders. On this side, I mount my throttles. My throttle holders are mounted to the front of the layout. My panels go through the fascia. I want a way that I can put my curtains here, and if I'm working up here in something dusty, it's not going to sit here in the top of the curtains because I got them mounted on top. I have them mounted underneath so that if stuff falls, it falls down the front and continues down to the floor where I can vacuum it up. My curtains attached with Velcro. You see this? This is all it takes to take them down. And you can see there's not a whole lot under it anymore. This is easy. It's fast. I can fold them up. I can put them in a box. They're not going to get dirty. Okay? Step one. Make it easy, make it fast, and protect your stuff. Okay, here we are under the layout. And really I just wanted to show you what it takes to take these things apart. And again, it isn't anything at all. The electrical, which is these items right here, and all it's a matter of taking these off is just pulling. That's line 1. That's line 2. And that's it. The tracks are disconnected. And the only thing that's left is the digital. Now the digital, this is the reason why I have a pair of UP5s sitting right next to each other, is so I can do this. Basically it's just one line. This connects to the other one on the other side in here. And it's just a short little cable, and you can see it here. It's just a short little cable from one to the other. And that's how I jump across the joint. And that's it. Electrically, these modules are actually disconnected. Everything else is independent to the layout, and you can see it's all wired up here, and then the bus continues from here and continue out this way along to the other side of the layout. And we'll just show that real quick. It's kind of a mess right now, but there it is. Okay. And that is it. Now I'll be splitting these two up, and that's it really. And that's what makes this thing so fast to undo. On to the next shot. Okay, here's the layout splitting, and you notice I'll get in kind of close. There are no roll joints. No roll joiners at all. They line up by those huge wooden dowels that we saw earlier. And that is it. Okay, and now you can see the layout just sliding apart. Now you can see the dowels. And really that's all holding it together. And there they are, they're separated. Okay, here we are back again. Really quick, this is the center section. The center section pretty much houses all the electronics and the sound modules and everything that pretty much runs the entire layout. The interface with the computer that's in the closet, the whole 9 yards. Now the only thing really, there's 2 plugs. There's a plug right here, right behind it. It goes to 2 power strips. This is one of the things I got to improve. I want to get this down to 1 plug. Just to document this, I'm going to go to Harbor Freight. They actually have a wall strip that's just about 4 feet wide, and it's going to fit just inside this, and this way I can get all the plugs and get this down to 1. I really only want a single plug hookup, so I can just pull the plug and roll it out. There is one other thing I got to deal with, and that's the Lionel, which is up here up top on the shelves. That actually runs, and it is controlled by the Lionel equipment right here on the sides. This is all TMCC. I mean, there's really nothing else connected to it, but unfortunately I don't have a quick disconnect way of doing this. What I'm going to have to do is something where I can use the banana jacks and be able to just pop them in and pull them out, so I can just pull this away from the wall. But for now I got to unscrew them, so bear with me just for a sec. Okay, and that's it. Now, all we have to do is roll this thing out. And once I roll this out, the ends that you saw us working on earlier, those just lay down. I take the legs off, they go on a cart, and they just roll out. And that's pretty much it. So far, I spent about 40 minutes. And again, it took me about an hour to get the tops cleared of all the stuff that's going to fall off when I turn them up on end. But other than that, this is pretty much it. Here we go. We're going to roll it out now. Okay, now all that's left to do is just to clean up some of the wires that are here in the bottom that are kind of dragging. I don't want them to drag on the ground on the cart. And that's pretty much it. And you can see, that's it. All I have is the 2 modules on the wall. This one over here. And the one that's out of the screen, you can just see the corner of it here, but that's it. And we'll go through moving those in just a sec. Okay, some of the problems that we have with the layout. Over time, and not realizing that I had done this, well, I realized I did it, but not what it would do to take the layout down. But I attached these runners, which I used to display some trains on, or not display, but store them when I'm running a different locomotive up on the layout. I attached these to the legs. Now I can't take the legs off because these are attached to it. So, next rule. Don't construct anything that's going to hinder your teardown. Even though it's convenient at the time, it's going to make it really, really tough on moving it. What I should have done is made a removable shelf so it can be easily taken down without any tools. And that'll be probably one of the rules that I sit down and make up as I go here and as I take these notes. Okay. Okay, and just to show you all, this is all that's left. The last module, just getting all the junk off of it and then moving all these boxes and stuff from underneath. And then it'll be all done. That's the idea of the building this way. And again, we'll look here at the walls. Nothing was attached to the walls. There are no holes. This is the way you want to leave a room, especially if you're renting. Okay, and you can see it stands alone on its own legs. It's easy to take apart. It's fast, and it'll go in just as fast. And when we put it in, I'll do some improvements out in the garage while we're working on it. And again, my storage is getting overflowed pretty quickly, so because I collect stuff faster than I can store it. But that's the idea, improve as you go.